Hi there. Today we're going to talk about how to cope when we're going through traumatic events or natural disasters. When we're talking about traumatic events, we're really referring to events or a series of events that are causing you a lot of stress. You may also be feeling a sense of fear. You may feel powerless. You may feel or encounter some injuries during those type of events. You may even encounter death of somebody that you may know. And so an example of traumatic event can also be through natural disasters. So for instance, with wildfires, with earthquakes, with floods, those are examples of what a traumatic event could be like. And so you want to be able to find ways to cope when you're dealing with those kind of things. You may notice certain symptoms. So for instance, you may feel some sadness, you may feel some anger, you may feel irritable, you may feel some anxiety and stress, as I was mentioning. You may have problems sleeping or finding that you're waking up in the middle of the night because you're having nightmares. You may also have a different outlook on life, which is not as positive as what you might have before. You may be having some flashbacks, some intrusive thoughts, or you may also just be avoiding people that you know, certain places, certain situations, because they're triggering you into some of those negative thoughts that you may be having or those negative memories. And so how to cope? How do you move past this? What can you use as strategies to help you during this type of really tough times? Well, for starters, make sure that you're prioritizing your safety. However that looks like, is it maybe leaving your home if possible, whatever that the case or the scenario may be for you, really try to prioritize your safety, as well as normalizing whatever type of feelings that you may be experiencing, right? I mentioned being scared, being angry, being irritated. Whatever that feeling is, normalize it. You are in a tough situation. You are in a whole different thing that you might have never lived before, and so it's normal to feel all of those feelings that you may be experiencing. You also want to make sure that you're leaning on your loved ones, leaning on a social support system to help you get through this. It's going to be tough for you to get through it on your own, so if you can, try to rely on people who are around you, people that know you, people that love you, or any type of social support that you can get. Try to identify some local groups as well that can have some resources, any type of support groups available, maybe even some crisis counselors that you'll be able to talk to. That's going to be key for your own recovery. Recognize that you cannot control everything in the situation. I'm sure there's a lot of different things that are happening at the same time. There might be a lot of confusion, not a lot of information on how to move forward. Whatever it is, please focus mainly on the things that you can control, because that's going to help you manage your own feeling of anxiety and avoid you feeling overwhelmed. Try to establish also a schedule for yourself. Try to incorporate maybe your usual routine. So things like if you were eating at a certain hour, try to eat at a certain hour. If you went to bed at a certain time, really trying to add that to your schedule. Creating a schedule for yourself, one, is going to help you have a sense of control, and adding that that routine piece of something that you used to do is also going to help you cope better with things and maybe adapt slowly back to some of the things that you were doing beforehand. In ways also to try and cope, trying to talk about what you're feeling, right? You're gonna have a lot of different emotion, probably a lot of negative emotion, like feeling angry, irritated, frustrated. And so instead of harboring those feelings, instead of holding on to those feelings, make sure to talk it out to somebody that you know, somebody that you trust. That way they're not going to get too intense for you. You're going to be able to release them, and they're not going to feel as intense. If you can, please make sure that you are prioritizing your self-care. making sure that you are doing things that you enjoy, making sure that you're taking care of yourself. That's going to help you when you're focusing on your physical health, your mental health. That's going to help you, give you that strength for you to be able to cope, because you're going to be able to gather yourself together, get that sense of resilience in order to help you move forward. And when we're talking about moving forward, we also want to incorporate some coping strategies, some healthy coping strategies. Some type of negative coping strategies is, maybe turning towards alcohol or drugs in order to avoid, sort of those feelings. And like I was saying before, you need to make sure to talk about the effect of those natural disasters. And so using coping strategies, even when we're talking about your anxiety, maybe you're feeling more anxious lately. So what can you do to reduce that anxiety? Potentially, if you're having a panic attack, is it maybe doing breathing exercises, trying to calm yourself down? You can do progressive muscular relaxation, which is an exercise where you're focusing on tensing certain areas of your body as you practice your breathing as well. These type of exercises help you ground yourself so that you're, back in the moment, especially if you're having flashback, like I was mentioning, flashbacks or nightmares that you may be experiencing, getting you back in the moment where you're feeling safe, where you're grounded. Try to limit also adding other sources of stress. There's already a lot of things going on. There's a lot of changes happening all at once. You don't want to add to your plate. Maybe not making big decisions and big changes right now. Instead, waiting until you're back to a normal pace before making these big changes or before adding any other sources of stress. And finally, try to find ways to help others too. Being able in a position, if you can, of course, to help others, to do something different for others, is going to help you get a sense of your own purpose, get a sense of purpose on what you're doing, get a sense of control too on what you can and you cannot do. Those are things that are going to help you manage these type of situations. And overall, if for whatever reason you are having a hard time, you're not able to get past this, you're still feeling overwhelmed, you're still feeling anxious, that is okay. You went through something very traumatic, and it's normal for you to acknowledge that, and it's also normal for you to ask for help if that's what you need. If you need help, please reach out to different type of professional providers. You could reach out to a doctor, maybe because of the physical symptoms that you're experiencing, or you could reach out to a psychotherapist or other mental health specialists that could assist you as you go through this really traumatic experience. So I hope this was helpful. I'm wishing you all the best, and hopefully that you will be able to get the help that you need and be able to move forward and to cope with the situation.